Finally, we're back on the latest game, FIFA 23. Well, it's going to be the latest game for about 2 more days because EA Sports FC is literally about to come out. So why not subscribe so you don't miss the dozens of careers and video ideas that I have planned for that game. Anyway, we're continuing as Nottingham Forest and we're introducing a new twist. I've fully reset the Forest squad to how it was before they spent £200 million on 30 players, and instead we'll be using this money to fully rebuild the newly promoted side. This gives us a chance to avoid some of the players that weren't so great like Shelvey and Shelvey and Lingard, while maybe going for some of the bigger names that were actually linked to Forest last year. The whole thing will be done as realistically as possible, so let's get squad building. In goal, player final hero Brice Samba has already left for Lon, so we'll need at least 2 new goalkeepers. At fullback we have Nico Williams, who signed before the cutoff I've used for this series, and on the left we'll have Jack Colback. We'll need at least 3 new fullbacks in my opinion. Centre-back depth is slightly better. Worrell and McKenna are borderline good enough for the Premier League, but I do think we'll probably sign at least 3 new centre-backs as well. Ryan Yates will remain in centre midfield, Sam Surridge can be a backup attacker, and Brennan Johnson will be starting the majority of our games on the right wing. So I think we still need about 15 to 20 new players, so let's start bringing them in. Morgan Gibbs-White was of course an obvious first signing, as was Taiwo Awoniyi to be the second man in. Of course, these two both play for Forest in real life, so it was very hard to resist signing them into this team. I want to play a 4-2-3-1 this year, so we'll need someone for the left wing to go opposite Brennan Johnson. Callum Hudson-Odoi is so realistic that he's actually signed for Nottingham Forest since I wrote this script, which was a pretty cool coincidence. Moving forward to midfield, we'll also need a big destroyer who can actually pass the ball forward. I couldn't decide if I wanted to go with Sangare or Yusuf Fofana, but we're going to go with Fofana, and we're also going to sign Julian Weigl from Mönchengladbach and Seville's Oliver Torres, who's more of a playmaker, to join Ryan Yates as midfield options. Fullback Gonzalo Montiel would also join from Seville and play on the right, while our Greek owner suggests that Tsimikas could play on the left. Atletico's Felipe, Stuttgart's Mavropanos, and Davinson Sanchez, of course, at Tottenham Hotspur will also join McKenna and Worrell at the back, while finally in goal, we have just about enough pull to tempt Kasper Schmeichel back to England for one last season. So this was actually a surprisingly cheap spending spree. With some of our spare cash, we decided to do something a little bit crazy. I didn't think we were going to be able to do it, but somehow we pulled off signing Jadon Sancho on loan, while Emile Smith-Rowe will also agree a short-term 6-month loan. With about half of that England under-17s World Cup winning team now at Forest, we have the chemistry, potential and pace for a really good finish this season. So let's get on with the season and see if it can all come together. Straight away, it's super clear who our key players are. Fofana is almost unbeatable due to his size and strength. Joe Worrell's passion for the badge has elevated his performances to be in the first team of the month, while Jadon Sancho is playing like the man we had back in FIFA 17. Towards the end of the window, there were a few players I realised I liked too much to actually avoid bringing them in. So Gustavo Scarpa, Danilo, Serge Aurier and Moussa Niakite will all join to probably be backups, and they all of course currently play for Nottingham Forest as well. So now we have a really good team. We can pick a team of players who have at least 80 pace, we can pick a team of players who have at least 82 potential, and hopefully we can also pick a team who can get Forest to finish in the top half this season. That's definitely the goal for this year in the Premier League. So let's compare our rebuilt squad to the actual squad. We're definitely stronger in attack, we're better in midfield, we have a higher quality defence, and our goalkeeper isn't actually that much worse than Keylor Navas. It wasn't just our signings off the pitch that were good, our performances on the pitch were decent too. We went 6 games unbeaten, beating West Ham, Spurs, Bournemouth and Everton, while we also got surprise draws against Chelsea and Manchester United. This was the perfect spell of form and it moved us from 18th all the way up to 12th in the table. We now had our toughest match of the season. Playing against Manchester City is always going to be hard, but when they're unbeaten after 15 games, having won 14 of them, it's going to be even harder. Haaland had already scored 22 goals, so we needed to defend him super urgently. Thankfully, Schmeichel stopped his penalty, and that meant Awoniyi's overhead kick would be the winner, and we had beaten Man City and ended their unbeaten streak. This team is actually insane. I love every single player in it, and I recommend that you sign all of these guys in your career modes. Callum Hudson-Odoi might seem a little bit underrated, but he's actually so good on the ball. Jadon Sancho is getting a lot of hate in real life at the minute, but again, he's so good inside FIFA. You can definitely try and rebuild these 2 careers in basically any save, and it would probably be quite realistic, so definitely check them out. Anyway, back to career mode. As we're probably only going to be able to finish mid-table in the Premier League, the Carabao Cup was our best chance of glory. Well, that was until we were drawn against Manchester City. While it is a home leg and Forest are notoriously quite good playing at home, they got off to a really good start. So did we. Within the first 10 minutes, we found Gonzalo Montiel, our right back, through the middle. He was unselfish, passed it to Brennan Johnson, and all of a sudden we were randomly 1-0 up. We probably didn't deserve to be ahead. Even though it was only 9 minutes in, Man City had already hit the post twice. They had another chance here. Bernardo played through by Haaland, but he was so slightly offside, thankfully for Nottingham Forest. Bernardo and Haaland would link up really well again, and there's no way this one's offside. That's an equaliser there from Bernardo Silva. Are we about to go out of the Carabao Cup to Manchester City? Well, in the second half, we turned things up a notch. Callum Hudson-Odoi and Morgan Gibbs-White had such a good link-up. His one-on-one was finished, and all of a sudden, Forest were back ahead yet again. We actually played our reserve team basically here, players like Danilo, who absolutely turned up. I mean, look at this, he's dribbled around 2 Man City defenders, but then look at this defending from Manchester City. I don't know why this keeps happening. They're leaving 2 men in the middle, but unfortunately we couldn't quite make the most of it right here. Like I said, this was the reserves, and some of our first team players were coming on now. Smith Rowe, Sancho, and Ryan Yates all came on, and Yates' first interaction with the ball was getting absolutely smashed by Rodri. With just 10 minutes left, Sancho would find Yates, Yates would beat Ederson, but just like Bernardo in the first half of Man City, he was marginally offside. We'd get another chance on the counter-attack right here. This time it was Smith Rowe to Gibbs-White, and Gibbs-White would finish his second shot with a second goal. He salutes to Trent End, and Forest looked like they could be going through to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. Man City would have one final chance, and of course you would always expect someone like Kevin De Bruyne to score a goal like that. Thankfully for us though, the game was basically over, the referee would blow his whistle, and we were through to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. There were some really bad teams still in this draw, so if we got one of them, the final was not off the table. Unfortunately for us though, we were drawn against Manchester United, and the first leg was actually pretty boring despite it being 1-1. The second leg wasn't actually that much better. This was probably our best chance of the game. Fofana and Yates linking up well, and Fofana should at least be hitting the target from there. We also had this chance here, Hudson-Odoi dribbling into the box, giving it to Awoniyi, and his 2 shots were just blocked by the Manchester United defence, but that meant this game was going to penalties, with a place in the final for the winner. We got off to a great start there, Hennessy saving Sabitzer's penalty, David De Gea stopping Awoniyi, next up was Johnson, and he'd also be stopped by David De Gea, and finally Fofana would step up and be stopped by David De Gea. 3 saves in a row. You can't deny that Manchester United did deserve to go through to the final with a performance like that from David De Gea. Look at that. He's silencing the haters. But I guess we can wheel out that old cliche that now we are just focusing on the league. We did alright in the FA Cup as well. We got to the semi-finals before we lost to Manchester United yet again. All our attention was now going on the Premier League. With just 2 games left in the season, we actually had a chance of finishing the European spots with Nottingham Forest. That would be absolutely incredible. The last time Forest played in Europe, I wasn't even born. It was 1995, and they lost 5-1 in the quarter-final of the UEFA Cup to Bayern Munich, who would go on to win the whole tournament. Really, we'd need to win both our games, so playing against Brighton away is always going to be tough. Danny Welbeck scoring an absolute screamer there, and he really should have made a second one there. We should be 2-0 down, but we're still in this game. Fofana will find Callum Hudson-Odoi. Johnson with the header, but it's cleared off the line by Brighton. So coming down to this free kick, if we can score here, we've got a chance of taking it into our last game. We took a long shot with Ryan Yates. I'm still not too sure why we did that, but that was our last chance. We had fallen to a 1-0 loss. That meant it was basically impossible for us to overcome Newcastle. We ended up finishing 9th on goal difference, which is a pretty decent result. We did say top half was our real goal here, but I'm a little bit gutted we didn't get that European football. Anyway, like I said at the start of the video, I've got tons of career modes planned for EA Sports FC or FC24, FIFA 24, whatever you want to call it, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. Thank you all for watching, hope you liked this video, hopefully you liked this series. I'll see you soon, cheers and goodbye.